So hello and welcome to this edition of UD Listens. And today it's our privilege to be able to have with us Jeff Frommelt. Jeff has been a member of our grounds crew and is just an exceptional gardener here at the university and has been with us how many years?
12 years.
12 years, which is very hard to believe. Has been a member of our team for over 12 years. And just the amount of care and detail and oversight and I guess love of the grounds and the trees and the shrubs is just exceptional here. And so I thought it'd be fun for all of our listeners and viewers just to let's have a conversation with Jeff Frommelt. So Jeff, welcome.
Thank you.
UD Listens. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So it's a beautiful time of year here right now. I noticed that, you know, from my office, I'm really fortunate. I can look out and just see the trees turning, and I see along Campus Park Drive, I think we've got 98 or 99 autumn blaze maples, and they're starting to turn now. And
beautiful.
It's you've got to be, you who live in that environment every day, it's got to be fun for you to see things change every day, I would imagine.
It's still amazing to drive down through that drive as those are changing, and everybody else is doing. They have their phones out and
I do the same thing.
recording as they go through there. And I do it too. And I'll send it down to my brother in Florida, you know, and make him jealous of.
Yeah, he would enjoy that. Yeah.
Not getting the seasons down there.
Now, when are we going to be at our peak, you think? I talked to somebody who said northern Wisconsin was already in the peak, so we have another week or two, maybe?
Yeah, I would think the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so I've got to remember to drive down there, and I do the time-lapse thing, which is really, really fun. So it's a beautiful drive, and those trees, are they about 15, 20 years old now? Getting close, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe
that was
15 or so.
That was done pretty close to
before
I started.
Yeah. So they would have been planted maybe 12, 13 years ago, and they were probably, 3-4 years, or maybe a little older than that. Sure. When they came.
And they used to have that evergreen.
Oh, I remember that
low
stuff.
growth underneath it.
Yeah, that was a good concept, but really a nightmare to try to maintain that, wasn't it? And then all the snow and everything.
Yeah, the salt ate it up.
Yeah.
Roy would tell me about a student worker that would start on one end, pulling weeds. She'd get all the way down, finish the hole, and then start over again because
That's how much maintenance it took.
It took a lot.
Yeah, that's no fun. I think it looks nice with the bark and.
I think so.
Yeah.
Just remulched that this year.
Did you really? So how often, when you're doing that mulching, how often do you have to do that?
I would say minimum. I would like to do it every 3 years.
Okay.
Hopefully it lasts that long.
So it doesn't have any kind of a fabric down on top of it. You just put the mulch on top of the ground.
Right on top of the ground.
And then how many inches thick do you have to do?
3 to 4 inches thick.
And if you do that, does that keep the weeds completely out, or you still have to weed it? Or?
It helps. And it helps the trees too, because that's going to prevent or save the moisture from.
Oh, okay. So it keeps them moist and.
Because they're already struggling with the street, the sidewalk. And
they've got a lot they're
contending with there.
Those are beautiful trees. I really love them, and we kind of carry them up here to the commons. And so, how did you get started in this? You've been with us 12 years. So, what kind of led to that? Why your interest?
I didn't start as the gardener.
Okay.
I started in custodial.
Okay.
Before working here, I was working in a bar, bartending, cleaning a bar. And my brother owned Gin Ricky's at the time, so I was cleaning down there on the weekends. And I started to realize that working in a bar for the rest of my life wasn't the healthiest thing. Yeah. So I was looking for something to do. My good friend Nicholas Coos was a flight instructor. Yeah. And he's the one that mentioned that they were hiring a custodian up here. Okay. I've been cleaning my whole life, ever since I was 5 years old. Because we would go out to the metrics company. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. And we would clean there on the weekends. So that was a regular Sunday ritual. After church, we'd go and we'd clean with the whole family. So I've been cleaning since I was young. So custodian, that was up my alley. I interviewed with Craig and got a second interview with Craig and Roy. They liked how well I interviewed. So they hired me on as the lead custodian,
Okay.
which was a big change from going from a bartender to trying to manage 20-some people, cleaning during the summer. It was a lot for me. And Roy liked my work ethic, my attention to detail, and asked if I wanted to be the gardener. I told him I didn't know anything about gardening, and he said he'd teach me. So
That's how it got started.
Yep.
So he taught and mentored you, and then, if I remember right, you did. Are you a master gardener? Did you went through? So tell me about that. That's pretty rigorous training, I think. So
it was great.
was it?
Yes.
So tell me about that whole process.
Master gardening program really is about learning through teaching. As people ask you questions,
Right.
you don't always have the answer, and it's not good to tell somebody just something, because if you don't have the answer, you just have to be honest and say, I don't know. But you're going to find out what that answer is, and that's how your knowledge increases.
Okay.
So the volunteer hours, the call center, all that really helps develop your skill set.
Okay. So you did, because I'd forgotten about that. There are so many hours you have to volunteer to do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how many hours.
It was quite a bit, I think.
There was, I don't know how many hours of class time. 80 maybe it comes to mind, and then another 80 of volunteer hours after that.
Wow.
And then to maintain the master gardening certificate, you would continue on with the volunteering. I have not done that, but I do get my knowledge, my skill sets do continually increase just because I do this on a daily basis.
Oh, you do. I mean, I see you out. I'll see you pruning trees. I see you pruning shrubs. I see you trimming back. I mean, there is, just in your 12 years here, the amount of landscaping, the volume that it has grown has just been enormous. So
it's an opportunity to learn more.
Yeah. So of all the trees and plants and shrubs and flowers and all of that we have on campus, what's list your top 3 most favorite things to do?
Top 3 favorite things to do. I do love trimming trees.
Okay.
I'm looking to maybe go for my arborist certification, which I understand is a big test.
Okay.
That would be nice to have. I would like to continue to learn more about trees. I would say the second thing, there's so many things that we do here on campus.
Right.
I love Christmas.
Okay.
I'm also known as the head elf. So
the head elf, okay.
I wear a lot of hats. So
Yeah.
I love Christmas. I love when the Christmas season gets here and we get to put up the decorations.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're going to be doing that again.
Yeah, we need to, don't we?
I feel like we do.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I would just say that the overall experience, the ability to do something different every day, and then each season also brings different jobs.
It does.
So you never get bored doing one thing. It's always something new, and it's like I said, always a learning opportunity.
Well, let's talk about those in order. So let's talk about the pruning the trees. So I've never understood how to do that. I mean, I've tried to watch the YouTube videos, and I've tried, because I know it's important. I don't know which ones to cut, which ones not, how to do it. I mean, it just all seems very confusing to me. And there've got to be hundreds of trees on this campus. So, I mean, how'd you figure all that out first thing, and then how do you keep up with everything?
Thank you to the master gardening training.
Okay.
That teaches you a lot.
Okay.
At least gives you the basic skills of what to do and what not to do.
Okay.
And it's really simple. And the one tree you can't prune any time of the year is the oaks.
Okay.
That has to be pruned in winter. So
Really? Why is that? Because they're dormant at that point, maybe? Or?
It's dormant, and there's not. There's a boring insect
Okay.
that will go into that fresh wound.
Okay.
And can spread the oak blight.
Oh, okay. So
And that
that'll kill
beetle's
it.
just not present in the winter. Or, you know,
Okay.
after a good killing frost.
Okay. Okay. So you've got to be hardy if you're going to do oaks. And I love oaks. I love
oaks.
You know.
Yes.
I think maybe bur oaks might be my favorite. I mean, because, you know, there's some places out of town here. I've seen oaks that was with a DNR guy and we were walking and looking around, and there are oaks that are 350 years old.
Yes.
Which is just, when you see, so they were here, frankly, before we were here. And
Well, that's what Iowa, I believe, consisted of, was a prairie
yeah,
with oak savanna.
yeah,
And I'm trying to imagine an oak savanna.
Yeah.
Just this, because there was no undergrowth with these, with that prairie. Well, you had the prairie grass,
Right,
the flowers, and the little babbling brooks that you know
Yeah.
cut through the land, and then the fire would come,
yes,
and it would take everything out. Nothing else could live
right.
except those oak trees. They
Yeah.
were able to withstand that.
They had like a shell, their bark was kind of a shell that withstood the fire, yeah,
And that fire went all the way up to the Mississippi.
yeah,
That's why you had just the oaks,
yeah.
which is
yeah.
cool.
There are places south of town here I've seen that still have those original oak savannas in place.
Really?
And we'll go, I'll take you there. It's just, you know, that's one of our things that I'd like to do, just, you know, you can help me with this, is, I mean, I'm fascinated by prairies and what this must have looked like before it was developed, and the combination of prairie and oak savanna. When you've seen a full prairie, it's just, I think it's stunningly beautiful, and it changes weekly.
Yeah.
That's the fascinating thing about it. So, and those oak trees, I think oaks were original here. And then, so I know in one of the new projects we're doing on the quad, right in the middle there, so where the benches are, I think what was fascinating, and we just did this last year, the number of people that missed having a tree there was just fascinating. And so we're redoing it all. We're redoing the Veterans Memorial, which will be really cool. In that square area, we'll still have the benches there. But I think we're gonna plant an oak tree. So it'll be 100 years before it's really developed. But I think the consensus is we need one right in the middle there, which would be, I'd love to be here 200 years from now and see that thing. Yeah. So that'll be fun.
Yeah,
so
plant trees for us.
Well, that's exactly right. I had somebody else tell me that, and that's exactly right. So, okay, so we've got the trees. Okay, then Christmas time. So tell me what we do for Christmas around here.
Christmas starts Halloween.
Okay.
That's how long it takes to get everything set up.
Okay.
We have a lot of trees, 30 plus Christmas trees we set up every year.
You know, they kind of reproduce like rabbits around here. Every year it's like, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Do we really have that many trees?
It's a lot. And then the tough part of that is that you're putting something up before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And it's always, well, it's not even Thanksgiving yet.
Right.
Well, we're not going to light it yet.
Right.
We're just getting
Right.
it. If we don't start now, well, we won't get it done.
up. Yeah.
So we start Halloween, end of October.
Yeah.
And it really plays with what the weather's doing. So
Okay.
let's say I got a nice sunny day. Well, we're putting the wreaths up on the poles that day because I'd rather not freeze if I don't have to.
Right.
And windy, rainy day, all right, we're going to go work on the
Right.
library tree or
Right.
heritage.
Right.
So it's just a matter of doing what the weather's, accommodating what the weather's doing for
So
you.
we really have 30-some trees on this.
It's a lot. I'd have to get an accurate count, but it's somewhere in there.
And they're not small trees. This isn't
Not
like
all of
pulling
them.
them out of a box and just sort of putting them on a table. There's some big monster trees.
Right. And the key to this is organization.
Yeah.
Labeling things. Where did that go? I mean, I've got it now where, oh yeah, that's there, and we just got to,
Okay.
put that one in that spot. But writing on the box every time, this is where it came from, this is the date it got put away. You have some general idea of what happened last year and what's going to happen this year.
Well, I know just talking to students, that's one of their favorite times of year too, because your goal's always to have it ready so when they come back from Thanksgiving, we've got that time period there where we just enjoy all the lights and the colors. And
Yes.
so you've got the trees, you've got the wreaths on the lamp post, but you all also trim the buildings in lights as well.
Yeah,
That's a big project.
a lot of those lights stay up. Because it's on a building that ends up in the maintenance guy's court.
Okay.
So they handle the exterior building lighting.
Wow, there's a lot. It really, I knew we were on to something when around here, with the trolleys, and people will rent the trolleys to go look at Christmas lights, I was on one of those tours, and they come through our campus.
Nice.
As part of that tour.
Yeah,
I thought,
I didn't know that.
okay, isn't that neat? So, now I have to warn you, the big discussion is, if we plant the oak tree in the middle, what happens to the Christmas tree?
That was my next question.
Yes, yes. And I think this is all your decision. You and Reverend Gunn get to decide this, but I'm thinking there's a temporary place perhaps on the alumni quad as for a year or so, but I think the ultimate place to think about is what we're trying to do is Grace Street here. Now that it's all developed, we're hopefully trying to acquire Grace Street from the city, and so we can just have a continuous campus through there.
Yeah.
It seems to me, and then essentially turn it into, you need to have access for fire trucks and maintenance vehicles and everything, but seems to me once we kind of convert it into sort of an access with a park feel, that maybe that's the place to put it. What do you think about that?
I love that idea.
Okay.
And it makes sense to turn, to just shut that street down.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, we'll work on it, but it's time. It's time, and there's so much pedestrian traffic on that now, and you're not going to go to one end or the other of the cross, and I worry about something bad happening. So I'm, because that's kind of the center of campus now, and I don't know where to put it or how, or if it's one end or the other, what the best thing is, but I'm thinking that might be the place to do it. So.
Well, I love that idea.
Okay, well, that's...
It's just so, it's cool to see the transformation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but I grew up in this neighborhood.
I didn't know that. Where'd you grow up?
Right down here on Elgona.
Okay.
My mom still lives there.
How far down? To the intersection, all the way to the church?
No, we're on North Elgona here. So you have Hale Street, where...
Yes, I know Hale, yeah.
The composer used to live there. What was his name? Oh, that's going to drive me nuts now that I can't remember. I played with his kids. I stayed in the house,
okay.
And they have these big ash trees in the front yard right now, and they're totally, the emerald ash borer has devastated them, and they're landing on the neighbor's house. But the white house, there's a blue house, then there's a yellow house, and that's my mom's house right there.
Okay, so you grew up, you probably were a campus kid now.
I was a campus kid.
Yeah.
Dale Thane was chasing me around, as we were playing American Gladiator over on the football pads. And
yes, good.
Yeah, it was great growing up here.
Oh, Dale, he was a wonderful guy. He was a neat guy to have around here. So
heart of gold.
He still does. And yeah, it's funny, I run into a lot of young people that grew up here, and then the campus was their playground, basically, is what it amounted to. And got trustees who used to deliver newspapers. This is back in the 60s, and Donnell and Cassett. Can you imagine a 13-year-old kid walking through at 6 in the morning?
Yeah.
So, well, the campus has grown a lot since you were a boy playing on it, hasn't it?
Definitely has.
Yeah. Yeah, this block where we are now was all houses. And,
across the street over here, remember the old ROTC house, the green one there?
Yeah.
Next to that one was that brown one. That was a good friend of mine. The Pitts family.
Yes.
Used to live there.
Yes, I'd forgotten about that house.
Yeah, so it's difficult to remember everything that was here, but it's neat to see the change.
And you guys do such a neat job of just keeping it up. So 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 we did pruning, we did Christmas, and we did the kind of the change of seasons. So it seems like, what's the hardest plants to take care of?
Let's see, the grasses are the easiest.
And they're beautiful.
They're
by the
beautiful,
way.
and
Yeah.
I love the variety.
Yeah.
I want to use that more at my house, just
Yeah.
because of the easy maintenance.
Oh, they're just and when the wind's blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just really. I was driving along one of the highways recently and saw a collection of. They're grasses, but they look like they're kind of white now. Look like pom-poms. They're
Yeah,
just.
yeah.
Oh, and that flowed with the wind.
That kind of pampas grass. Yeah.
Is that what that is?
I think so.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, beautiful.
So so they just grow. That I noticed this time of year you start trimming them back. Is that after the first frost or?
You can. You
Okay.
can. Once they go dormant, you can cut them anytime. I prefer to leave them up when you can, just to provide some sort of insulation to its root base. 'Cause
Okay.
they're a little bit more protection from the cold.
Okay. So and then you could do they need to be trimmed in the spring or not?
Yeah, that's when I would come, when you have time. Once again, it's a weather situation.
Okay.
Let's say the snow melts and we have an opportunity to get outside. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. If it's 30 degrees, if it's 20 degrees and there's no snow on the ground, we're working. So
Okay.
gardening doesn't stop any time of year around here.
No. So when you trim those back, you just use a hedge clippers or
Mechanical hedge trimmer.
Okay.
You could cut it any way you want, but that's just the fastest way to do it.
Okay. And so what do we do with all those trimmings and prunings, and there's not really room on campus to compost that stuff, I wouldn't think, or so we probably...
No, a compost has always been a nice dream. It just takes a lot of time, and something we don't have a lot of. The heavy brush we store at a house, and a guy will come and chip that every couple months.
Okay.
Big projects will go right to the landfill.
Okay.
This is what you call our green waste. So,
Yeah. Okay.
normally it goes into a trailer and taken to the landfill,
Okay.
and then that gets composted. So.
Okay. Well, so in an ideal world, we'd have the space. But composting that volume
It's a lot.
You need a lot of space
And machinery.
and machinery to do that. Yeah, you got to have the chippers, and you've got to have all. Yeah.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
The idea is having the right plant in the right place. You won't have to do a lot of trimming. You don't. A plant wants to be a certain size. There's shaping, there's shearing. Sure. Certain plants like shearing, some don't.
Right.
And if you're able to have a sustainable landscape, you're not doing much to it at all.
Okay.
Just putting the right plant in the right place is really the key. Now,
I really like these plants, but I understand they're a little bit of a nuisance, and they kind of, are they heather, these blue heather that we've planted?
The Russian sage?
Russian sage, that's it. I mean, I think they're beautiful, but they're also sticky, so I imagine they catch, in the wind, they catch weeds.
They do.
Is that the issue with them?
They do, and they're a little invasive. They'll spread, they'll crowd.
Okay.
And then they grow, they want to flop this way and flop that way.
Okay.
There's a little bit more work there, but they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They smell great. I don't know if you ever get a chance, go up and grab them and just smell the sage scent.
Okay. So do they get thicker as they get older?
They will.
Kind of fill in and.
They will. If that's the intention.
Okay. So we've got those, and we planted. I saw you guys last week. Just a whole bunch of grass was planted on the northwest end of the new building. So that's really going to look beautiful.
It is. It is. That's all going to come together. Then, like you said, when the wind takes that and it's all moving, it brings the landscape alive.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It brings it alive. So do the grasses fill in over time too? So
they can. I think they look better if they're kept in their own
environment,
their own area. Yeah.
Okay. So if you could say, all right, Jeff, all this is great, but here's what we really need to do. This is what, if I could wave my magic wand and do Vista campus. Have you ever thought about that when you're
Oh,
pruning?
I've thought about it a lot, but
Yeah.
I think we're on the right track.
Okay.
You know, because if something's out of place, we're here to make that adjustment.
Okay.
Everything's coming together. I really like love the way it looks.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are the bar
Yeah.
that has been set for the, I think, for the community,
Is very high.
for other
Yeah.
colleges.
Yeah, I do too.
And trying to just maintain that bar, raise that bar.
Yeah. So one of the things I know I was really proud of, Jeff, is during the derecho storm that went through Iowa, you and your colleagues went down to a sister school, Cornell College, and helped. They had significant damage on campus. And
Yes.
that you all took a day, went down there, and helped out for an entire day. So, I mean, that had to have been quite an experience.
It was quite an opportunity. The school provided us to be able to serve others.
Yeah.
The Cornell College really appreciated our help. Just having someone there to have their back, know that there's other people that
Yeah.
we see you've gone through something. What can we do to help?
Yeah.
And they were just more than accommodating and grateful.
Wonderful.
Neat to see another school and how
How
they
they do it,
operate.
yeah.
What are their facilities like? What are they doing differently?
And I wouldn't want to mow the lawn there. The number of hills,
Yeah.
I mean, that you got to know what you're doing if you're on the mowers with that kind of terrain and.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
You know, towards Iowa City and Cedar
Right.
Rapids.
Right.
King Chapel is on top of their campus
Yes,
there, and they
yeah.
said that was the highest point in Lynn County for a number of years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful spot. You see that from all over. So, I think the phrase. I mean, I think you said to me, it just. A couple of guys said to me, it just felt good to serve.
It did.
Is the phrase? Isn't that an interesting? So you don't need to feel guilty about getting paid to do it, but it was our contribution
Yeah.
to another sister school, and hopefully, I know I got a nice note from their president, and we didn't do it to get noticed, but there is something, isn't there, about serving other people
Absolutely.
that makes us feel, you don't do it to feel better, but you feel better
Yeah.
about others and yourself when you do it. So
Giving feels so much better than receiving.
And that campus has got some old trees. I imagine some of those oaks were probably,
Yeah, they got beat up.
yeah, that's too bad. Are they going to be okay, or did they lose a number of them?
As long as the structure's there, you know, as long I was listening, every Friday I listen to the Horticulture Hour on Iowa Public Radio.
Okay.
10 o'clock.
Okay.
You learn a lot.
Yeah.
You know, just from listening to that. And they were talking about after the derecho that as long as there was 50% of that canopy left, and there wasn't any structural trunk problems,
Right.
they can make it.
Really? They
Yeah.
can repair themselves.
You might get some of this sort of sucker type
Yeah.
limbs that aren't very stable, but it's going to provide some
Shelter.
some
and
shelter, some
canopy.
canopy, some
Wow.
photosynthesis for the tree.
Okay. So they're resilient.
Yeah.
They're really resilient.
We hope so. But here's the other thing. We talked about not pruning oaks in the summertime because of that beetle, right? So
Right.
all those branches that break,
They're exposed now.
they're exposed, and
Yeah.
how much blight is going to go through that in the next few years? They might lose them through the blight. So
Wow.
if you're able to get up there right away, you know, cut that, you know, broken branch off or whatever, paint some latex
So you
white
seal
paint on,
it.
seal
You
it
seal it.
off.
Okay,
Maybe
okay.
it had a chance, but they said after a few days of that wood drying up, you know, that beetle's not attracted to that anymore.
Okay.
Maybe they make it.
Okay.
Time will tell.
So how old do you think those oaks are on that campus?
Oh, it's hard to say.
Yeah. Yeah, they're old.
The gal I was working with, she said that some of them were state at one point, state contenders, or state champion. They call them state
For
champion
oldest trees, yeah.
So,
I was years and years ago, I was at the University of Washington, and one of the things that really made an impression on me was the way they took care of their grounds and the care. For example, in the main drive to the university, there were something like 19, I think they might have been oak trees, and craggy, and I'm like, why 19? Why not 25? Well, each one was planted in memory of a student who was killed in the First World War.
Wow.
And so they're still there. So I got to know some of the folks that did grounds there. They have gotten to the point where it's almost, I think it's classified as an arboretum now, where every tree has its own journal. So every tree on campus has this tree, and there's like a group of cherry trees in front of Raitt Hall. They've all sort of somehow documented what happens over the years.
That's cool.
And I'm like, now that is a focus on a long-term project. Like you said, you don't plant trees for ourselves, but it's doing stuff like that kind of prepares a legacy for the next generation, I think.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And coming back to that magic wand
Yeah.
question, it's coming to me.
Okay.
Park Village
Yes, okay.
is one of my thorns.
A challenge.
It's a challenge.
Okay,
And I
so-
like a challenge. Don't get me wrong. I like a challenge. But
Right.
I could see a vision down there where maybe that playground in seminary
Yep.
is not there anymore.
So we probably don't use it anymore, would be my guess.
It's almost, in my opinion,
Okay.
since there's really no children down there, it could be a
It served
temptation to get hurt.
It served a purpose years ago, but right now, okay, so what would you do with it? You
I
take
could-
it out.
I could see that area with a large sycamore,
Oh, neat.
the ghost tree, right?
Okay.
They can get big. They're a little bit messy, but those big leaves on them, I could see that being the Jeffrey Bullock, Roy Buell legacy tree.
Though I see the Jeffrey Frommelt Roy Buell legacy tree. That's what I see. So, and how big do sycamores get?
I think 50 feet,
Oh, wow.
plus.
That'd be cool.
Big outstretched arms, kind of just.
So it's kind of a place when they get to be mature, you just they provide lots of shade and
Lot of
shelter.
shade, yeah.
And
Be a neat place to just be having a lunch or picnicking under.
yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think, I don't get down there much anymore, but if we're not, it's an invitation to trouble. If we don't have children around anymore, which, that part of our seminary program has changed over the last 20 years, then and I remember it's the second Presbyterian church in Indianapolis, Indiana, that provided the funds for that playground. So
Wow.
that was a long time ago. So Bill Enright was the senior pastor there, and he helped lead the way to do that. So that'll be, okay, well, let's consider that a project. That would be fun. Now, when's the best time to plant new trees? In the fall or the spring or around here? What do you
I
think?
like to plant a tree in the spring.
Okay.
Just because it's going to give it the whole season to develop roots.
Okay.
And
Which
establish
is the most
itself.
important the first couple of years, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You've got to have a good root structure, otherwise it's just not going to be healthy.
Right.
Now, I've noticed on the south part of campus along those evergreens are called fat boys along Highway 20. There's kind of a blight or something that's hit them. What's happening in our community where is that just a natural kind of progression of things, or what do you think's going on?
Like we said before, what lived in Iowa?
Yeah.
Prairie and oaks.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of just brought in, right? Or
Right.
it's invasive, or it's transplanted, and this looks beautiful. Well, it's still Iowa. It still gets extremely cold here, you know. So, not everything's going to live forever here.
Yeah.
It's a harsh environment.
Yeah.
We go through droughts, and then as these last 3 years, 5 years, it's been extremely wet, except up to this year. And that too much moisture really does create those fungal problems, bacterial problems.
And there's really no way you can treat those. I mean, you try to trim them back, and I imagine air is helpful, airflow is helpful.
It is helpful.
but-
We can spray a fungicide. We've done that in the past, but that becomes, we look at integrated pest management.
Okay.
What practices can we use to using, the last process is a chemical treatment.
Okay.
Having a strong, sturdy turf grass so we don't invite weeds in there. That's important. That's a cultural or a mechanical process,
Okay.
So then we can spray those trees, but do you really want to do that? Let's plant a tree that is
That
disease resistant
yeah.
in the beginning, and
Yeah.
we can just avoid all that.
Yeah, and those trees have really grown, that I remember when they were just probably 4 or 5 feet tall is all, and they're a good 15 feet tall now, so. Well, that's very helpful. So I imagine that as we kind of keep that in mind, so if those end up dying, what would you replace those with? Is there something better we can do there to provide a shelter, or is it just going to be a process of maybe growing every 20 years and then replacing and growing and replacing? What do you think?
I think, yeah, as those, because they're a cool tree. I like them.
Yeah.
But they just don't do well here. So and I like conifers. Like you said, you were in Washington and you saw they have a lot of conifers out there.
Yeah.
I would like to see. They're just not that many that do well here in Iowa.
Yeah.
But there are a few.
Right.
I'm not sure if they recommend the white pine anymore, but I love the white pine.
Yeah, those are neat.
So
Those are old trees.
Yeah.
Those are old trees.
I'd like to see, just if you just piece them in one at a time. I love this saying, adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience.
Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. Well, if that isn't the right place to end our conversation, I don't know. I'm going to have to write down, adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. That's why we like oaks so much.
Yes.
They're slow and steady.
Strong.
And strong. And I think oaks are a wonderful kind of metaphor for this state and for, I think a good old oak tree would be a really nice symbol to have in the middle of that quad.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah. I miss the ashes a lot. I do. I thought it was just beautiful in the shade, but there's a time for everything.
Right.
And when they were gone, I'm like, this is nice, being able to see the buildings and the flowers. It kind of brought our attention down a little bit. So.
Yeah.
Jeff, you're a wonderful addition to this campus, and I really do admire the work that you do and your colleagues do, and I know I'm not the only one. Over and over again, when people come to this campus, that's one of the first things they comment on is just how beautiful the grounds are. And I say to people, in lots of ways, it's the most subtle kind of marketing and advertising we do, but it's the most important because if you're taking care of your grounds, it's also suggesting to parents and families that if we do that with care, we're going to do our best to take care of their children as well and provide a good experience for them. So
I want to say though, it's a team effort.
Yeah.
Every one of those guys on that team, including
I know.
Craig and Al, everybody that's in down in facilities, is part of that mission.
Yeah.
And the more we work as a team, we can do anything.
Oh no, I agree with that. And then the grounds and what you do in the winter time here is just, there's a lot of respect. So I want to thank you. Thanks for representing your team in our conversation
Glad
today.
to do it. Glad to be here.
I wish we didn't have to wear these. We do. Try to set a good example for everybody. And I look forward to that time when we're not wearing face coverings, so we can actually be around each other as we have. I think that's one of the things I miss most is just the ability just to kind of hang out together.
I miss it too, but we have to adapt.
We have to adapt. Patience, that's the word of the day, patience. So, Jeff, thanks for what you do for the university, and thanks for coming to this edition of UD Listens. I can't wait for everybody to hear more about you.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.